With your attention, please, we'll be starting up shortly. Good evening, and welcome to the Lowell Planning Board for Thursday, February 22nd, 2018. Before we proceed tonight, I'd like to ask that we have a moment of silence for Attorney James Flood, Jr. Attorney Flood was a respected attorney and one of the best land use attorneys in the greater Lowell area for over 40 years. Attorney Flood appeared before this board on a regular basis for over 40 years, and he was well known throughout the city for attending all the other boards, as well as other cities and towns that he appeared in front of. He was always very well distinguished by his bow tie, and he was always very prepared, very knowledgeable, and most importantly, always a true gentleman. He loved this city, and he'll be truly missed. We ask that you keep him in your thoughts and prayers, along with his wife and his 4 children. Thank you. Thank you. Tonight, moving along, we have 5 matters on the agenda. We do have one matter that is a request for a continuance, so I'll take that matter out of order if there's no objection from the board members. A site plan and a special permit for 650 Merrimack Street. We have requests from the applicant to move the matter to March 5th, 2018. May we have from the applicant, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Attorney George Steve, 133 Market Street, representing the applicant, the Union Lowell, LLC, in accordance with our request, which was delivered to DPD, through DPD to you, Mr. Chairman, on February 8th. We are hereby requesting a continuance of the public hearing from today's date to Monday, March 5th. That we have made changes, which we have submitted to DPD, and to give it advance notice for DPD to work on it and submit to the board. And so that we've incorporated requests that were made in the past from the prior informal. So, informal presentation that was done on February 5th. So as a result of that, we asked this board to continue the public hearing from today's date till Monday, March 5th.
Thank you, Counsel. What's the request of the board?
Mr. Chairman.
I move we allow it.
Okay. Motion's made by Mr. Malovich.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Mr. Fischett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. So anybody watching this evening or is here this evening, this matter will be on our agenda March 5th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving along on the agenda, the first matter is a preliminary subdivision for Montreal Street Extension. The applicant is proposing to create new Tanner Street to connect the Montreal Street Extension as Phase 1 of the Tanner Street realignment. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mayor, and members of the board. For the record, Joseph Jenowitz, Urban Renewal Project Manager for the City of Lowell. Here tonight with Natasha Vance from Watermark. They've been the design consultants for this project. I'm going to start off just by giving a little bit of background about the Air City Industrial Park plan, just to kind of refresh people's memories about that plan that was developed a few years ago, go into some project goals, and then I'll turn it over to Natasha to get into some more specifics about the plan itself. So up on the screen, you have the vision statement that resulted from the planning process to develop the urban renewal plan known as the Air City Industrial Park. This urban renewal district is a little bit different from the Acre and the JAM urban renewal districts. It's really seen as an economic driver through commercial and industrial development as opposed to maybe some residential development. And we're really looking at some space that'll really transform this area in terms of, the aesthetics of it. It's kind of been an area that's been run down for a little bit of time, but also going to bring a lot of area that's really underutilized at this point and bring some jobs and tax dollars to the city. So just for a little bit of background, this is the project boundary. It's about 75 acres in all. You have Gallagher Terminal just off the map to the north, just for some context. You have the Lowell connector kind of on the western boundary of the map in front of you. You have the Target Plaza right to the south of the project area, specifically the project that's in front of you tonight, just to give some context for the area. This is from the Air City plan itself. This is showing some existing conditions. A couple things to look at from this map. One is the amount of vacant area that's in there, over 20% of the area in the urban renewal district is vacant. And then you can see the existing floor area as well as the potential floor area. And you can see just the sheer amount of square footage that we can foresee if this area is developed as seen in the urban renewal plan, just how much more potential square footage for development that there could be in this area. When the plan was developed, there was a market study to see what would be the highest and best use for development in this area. Looking at some of the district advantages, you have the connector access that was mentioned already, the commuter rail, as well as the educational infrastructure that's here in the city with like UMass Lowell and Middlesex. So some of the redevelopment demand that was found in that were for small, flexible spaces. Really looking at what modern commercial industrial users are looking for, something that would be kind of a big open space that could be subdivided fairly easily with removable walls. When it says, small, flexible, you could have, a larger building, but you could have smaller subsections within it, and they could fluctuate fairly easily. This wouldn't really be an area that you would see larger office buildings like you'd see over at Cross Point. That's what the market study found. So again, coming out of the study and the planning process, you would see through the urban renewal plan, you would see brownfields cleaned up. You'd have a lot more new development brought into the area, hundreds of new employment opportunities, and a lot of new tax revenue. So one of the big impetus projects that the city saw in this planning process was to realign Tanner Street. This would be a point where you could have a significant gateway into the district, and it could also ease some of the current and future potential traffic that is in the area now. Trying to, again, looking at different designs for realigning Tanner Street, looking to minimize the impact to existing businesses and trying to also mitigate any impact and improve connections to surrounding neighborhoods. There are a couple of residential neighborhoods nearby, and we want to try to make it easier for residents in those areas. So as we've been going through different designs for the Tanner Street realignment, a couple of things that kind of pushed us to think in a way that this would be a project that would be better implemented in two phases. One of those is to mitigate some of the project costs. Looking at least conceptually, the whole realignment, you're looking at a significant cost. Early costs were around $9 million. Some later iterations have brought it down a little bit, and it's really the utilities that are driving a lot of that cost into the project. Another factor was the VFW. This is kind of where the new entrance to Tanner Street will be, right near the VFW and the Lowell car wash, as it is now. And the VFW has redevelopment plans that they're eager to get in motion. And in order for them to be able to move forward, they had to know exactly how this project was going to impact their property. So that was another driving force behind it. And as we've been going through, we felt like there was an opportunity that we could implement an intermediate phase and have it in place so that it could function well, and it wouldn't cause any undue problems with traffic or anything like that. And now I'm going to turn over to Natasha to get into more specifics about the project.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As Joe said, I'm Natasha Vance. I am design consultant for Watermark for the project. This is the plan view of phase one of, it's called the Montreal Street Extension. This, the intersection with Plain Street and the new Tanner Street is directly in line with the stoplight at Target on Plain Street, just to orient you a little bit. When you're looking at the plan view, immediately to the right of the new street is the current VFW, and immediately to the left is the Lowell car wash. You can see there is a retaining wall along the left side of the road, which is specifically to reduce the impact to Lowell car wash. A 2-to-1 fill slope would have come very, very close to their building, so by pulling it back, it gives a little more than 30 feet between the wall and the car wash. The other part of this project is the Montreal Street extension, and it connects with the new Tanner Street, along the retaining wall. These are profile views of the new Tanner Street and the Montreal Street extension. You can see that most of the project will be in a fill condition because there's a pretty significant elevation difference between the existing condition and the proposed condition. And actually, I forgot to mention, along Montreal Street, along the back of the VFW property, there will be a curb. It'll extend to where Montreal Street ends, and then the extension ends, and then we will extend the sidewalk for an additional 200 feet to make that area a little more walkable. And then these are the typical sections of the two streets. In the new Tanner Street roadway typical section, you can see the retaining wall on the left, and again, that's to prevent a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 fill slope from impacting the Lowell car wash. And then for most of Montreal Street, we're actually just tying into existing, and there's very little impact to the adjacent properties.
Thank you. Does the applicant want to be heard anything further? No? Okay. Anybody here this evening want to speak in regards to this project, in favor or against? I'll take people, anybody who's in favor first. Anybody here want to speak on the Montreal extension? This is a preliminary subdivision. In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Anybody in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none. Any of the board members have any questions or comments? I just have one quick question, Joe, if I may. So when I was up the other day trying to find it, I had to actually call staff and ask where I was, because I was sitting behind the VFW. And then I found out I was in the right spot. So at the end of Montreal Street, is that going to go straight to Tanner Street, or is it going to take a left to go out to Plain Street?
Montreal Street will tie in with the new Tanner Street.
Realignment.
Yep, with the Tanner Street realignment, and you'll be able to take a left from Montreal Street onto the new Tanner Street and get to Plain Street.
Okay, thank you. That was my first question, because I was sitting there and I called, I said, I can't find exactly where I am. I'm on Montreal Street, and where is it?
Yeah.
And staff was kind enough to say, where you sitting? I said, man, VFW. They went, well, that's it. I said, okay.
So the new Tanner Street will be between the existing VFW property and the car wash property?
That's correct. Mostly on the current VFW property, as it is now.
I take it you'll be continuing Tanner Street as an existing situation until you do phase 2 or any other phases?
That's right, yeah.
What happens to that land when there was portion of Tanner Street when you
Yeah.
get done?
When current Tanner Street is abandoned, I guess in the future, once, later phases are completed, it'll go to adjacent property owners halfway down the street. One half will go to one side, one half will go to the other.
Mr.
Mr.
Chair?
Chairman, if I could, just, Joe, if you could go over just a little bit, I've got a kind of a profile of the retaining wall, but I know visiting the site, I think we were talking earlier, I was really surprised with the drop. If you can just get into a little detail as to how you're addressing that. It's quite a change in elevation at that spot.
Yeah, there is. So it's about 13 feet in difference at the highest point, about 10 feet right where the intersection with Plain and where the new Tanner Street would be. That's the whole purpose of the retaining wall, is to minimize that fill slope, but there will also be guardrail, and it'll be extra depth and structurally analyzed to make sure that no one could then drive off of that.
That was my concern, yeah, that's quite a drop.
And when you look at Montreal Street, the profile on the right, when you're coming down, it's at a 5% slope, so there's definitely a safety concern there. So the guardrail directly across will be reinforced so that no one could, at least going a reasonable speed, couldn't go off the end. The main impetus for the retaining wall was to reduce the impact to the car wash, and additionally, it's if it's a segmental block wall, which is what we're envisioning, it's a much nicer looking It's, you know, it looks like kind of the landscaping walls that you see.
It looks like it's, I couldn't, were they 2-foot blocks, or, I was trying to determine,
Yeah, typically, well, so that's a delegated design, and that would be something the city of Lowell would be able to select the color and the manufacturer,
Yeah.
et cetera. But generally speaking, they're 18 inches by 8 inches, and then about 18 inches deep.
okay. And then and also going down Montreal Street, there's a garage there, an establishment that really they're basically using Montreal Street as their parking lot, and you know, they've got cars parked on both sides, and just curious as to what the impact is going to be to that, you know, that business, or how you're, you know, the design of the street, and I know DPD had comment letter, but the question was, in preliminary subdivision such as this, there's no notification requirement, so just curious if there's been any discussions with that particular abutter, or any other abutters, as far as what's being proposed and how you're addressing that situation.
Yeah, I mean, folks in this area are aware of this project. We're going to have a more direct meeting with the owners of the car wash in March. We've been trying to arrange a meeting for that since January. But in terms of Montreal Street itself, with the cross-section here, you'll see that at this point, we don't have any parking on the street, so it'd be a little more difficult for folks at that establishment to be able to put cars on the street, because it is something that can be a little bit you know, challenging if you're trying to navigate down there now.
So they will be losing what they're using, what would be technically across the street right now, that's correct?
Right.
And there's curbs, too.
Right. Yeah, there'll be a curb and a sidewalk that's put in on the VFW side of Montreal Street as part of this project.
And so when you have, I'm assuming it's going to be more of a neighborhood meeting, as you had to develop the Tanner Street plan, then a notice will go out to?
Yeah, we'll be reaching out to the affected property owners in this area for sure.
Sure, okay. And then more, again, to staff letter, not that, the question was regarding any possible landscape with the change in elevation, just curious. And again, it's not required at this stage for the preliminary, but just curious, some idea of what you're proposing.
Yeah, another thing in the memorandum there had mentioned lighting as well. We do have a lighting plan in terms of where poles were going to be located. We just haven't determined the type of pole that we're going to put in there at this point yet, so that's why there wasn't a detail in the plans at this point. We've contemplated putting street trees in. You know, that does have a trade-off in terms of how much more it's going to impact properties, and you know, how much land would be necessary for the right-of-way.
And there's a row of mature trees between the VFW parking lot in Montreal Street. Are those going to come down? Are they on the VFW property, or are they, no?
I don't remember the specific trees you're talking about off the top of my head, but we have been working with the VFW in order to have, you know, some sort of trees along their side, along the sidewalk, in order to make that a more pleasant experience for anybody who is in that residential neighborhood that wants to, say, walk to the Target Plaza.
Right.
And additionally, in the memo, he was talking about the fill slope at the end of,
Yes.
yeah, so that would definitely be vegetated at the very least, obviously. If
Just to prevent erosion, if nothing
Right,
else.
yeah, yeah. And right now, that's a 2-to-1 slope, but that may be something we shallow up, so it's a little less steep, and certainly some plantings could go in there, but we're just not at that point yet.
Sure, okay, good. No, great, thank you.
Any other questions from the board members? If not, what's the request of the board? So this is for the preliminary subdivision?
Does that require a vote, Mr. Chairman, or is that
Yes, I believe we do, because remember the last one we had up in Westview, we had to do a vote on the
preliminary?
preliminary?
Yeah, okay. In that case, I would make a a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision as presented this evening, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes, so the preliminary subdivision has been approved. Sure we'll be seeing you in the future. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along on the agenda, the next matter is a special permit for 25 Merrimack Street. The application was submitted by Josh Harper seeking special permit approval from the planning board at the above address. The applicant proposes to open a Walgreens Community Pharmacy Medical Center in the ground floor of the existing building. The parcel is in the downtown mixed-use zoning district, and the use requires a special permit from the planning board under Article 12, Section 12.8C of the Table of Uses, and any other relief requested by the City of Lowell zoning ordinance. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Joshua Harper. I'm a Director of Retail Architecture for C Architecture and Design and the applicant. Thank you for your time this evening. I appreciate you having us in here. We are proposing a tenant fit-out within an existing property in downtown Lowell, in fact, just up the street of a Walgreens community pharmacy space. As you indicated, requirement for that property would be a special use permit based on the classification of the space. I wanted to go into a couple of details about what we were going to be doing to the space. It's my understanding the last tenant was in that property roughly 4 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, so the property's been vacant for some time. So we are proposing a long-term lease, Walgreens is. The property itself, as noted in the narrative, has a relatively significant grade change from the exterior to the interior. And as part of our tenant fit-out, we're proposing to bring that up to a modern standard of accessibility, recreating an interior ramp as required to meet the needs of the most recent accessible codes, and make that property accessible to all the residents of the city. Also, as a part of our due diligence on the property and doing the initial survey, we uncovered some original kind of ceilings within the space, and we're proposing in a limited way to bring some of that back, to bring some of that character back to that area in kind of the waiting in the public space of the property. I'd also like to, if I may, have my colleague Samantha speak just a little bit to some of the more details of what a community pharmacy is and what services we provide to the community. And if I may, I'll have her speak to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Chairman, board members, my name is Samantha Picking. I'm the healthcare specialty supervisor for our specialty sites in Massachusetts for Walgreens. However, my most recent role was I was actually a pharmacist in one of these sites. So I just want to shed light on how different this site is from your regular retail pharmacy. We do have a high-touch patient care. So these specialty patients have complex conditions that can be for life. We offer services where they can come in, spend more time with the pharmacist, talk about their financial needs, sit down and talk about their medications. So while we have all the abilities of a regular retail pharmacy and we can fill regular retail scripts, we also offer services to our patients that another retail pharmacy would not offer. They may not be walking in, a lot of our communication with them is over the phone. So our patients, we're able to develop strong relationships with them even if we are speaking to them over the phone. But like I said, they have the option to come in and speak with the pharmacist and see us face to face. We can sit down with them in our community room and talk to them about their medications. Another thing that we do offer is we don't deny the patient even if it's not going to be filled at our pharmacy. So say they went to another retail site and they couldn't fill it because of their insurance requirements. Basically, if we saw that patient and they came into us, we would see them through even if we weren't going to fill it. We would find out where the prescription needs to go and handhold them to the end to make sure that they get their medications. I also want to talk about the name of the pharmacy. We're called Community of Walgreens Pharmacy which is different from your typical Walgreens. So community is in the name. So you'll see the pharmacy staff out in the community, whether it be at an HIV event, an oncology walk, just your typical health fair, so that we can get to know the patients in the community and shed light on and have the pharmacists be out in the community and meet their patients.
Thank you.
So the property itself, it's as a pharmacy in the space, it's a big part of what we do is becoming partners with the community and building that out. That's a lot of what the accessibility abatement is about, and becoming a long-term member of the community. With that, I'd like to take any questions if you have any about the property itself or the proposed tenant fit out.
Okay, we'll get back to you on any questions once we see if the public has any questions first.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Anybody here this evening want to speak in regards to the Merrimack Street project? Anybody here in favor? In favor? In favor? Anybody in opposition of the Merrimack Street? Opposition? Opposition? Hearing none, I'll turn over. Any of the board members have any questions at this time? Mr. Snetsky?
Yeah, I'm just a little unclear, not concerned about it, but just a little unclear about the role of the pharmacy. You mentioned that it would have the ability to do retail pharmacy, but also have the additional services that the patients require. Will this, in fact, be a regular retail pharmacy?
So we're licensed as a retail pharmacy. We do refer to it as our local specialty sites. So our emphasis is working with our specialty patients and those patients like oncology, HIV, MS, hepatitis C. However, if someone just wants to fill their prescriptions at our pharmacy, we can act as their retail pharmacy. So they can come in and see us and I can fill their regular scripts. Same thing with my specialty patients. If they want to fill all their medications in one place, they have that option.
In your experience with this type of pharmacy, do you get much of the traditional retail pharmacy business, or is it primarily the specialty clients that you're dealing with?
We get still a good amount of regular retail business, I would say. In my most recent pharmacy, we were still, a high percentage of our patients were regular retail patients. However, like I said, a lot of it is if they want to get their prescriptions mailed or talk to us just over the phone, they have that option too. So it's not as much foot traffic and it's not like pumping out prescriptions every 15 minutes as you would typically see. And our main focus is the specialty patients, but we offer both services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are my only questions at this time.
Thank you. Bob, any questions?
I'm wondering about, this isn't a downtown, so parking is whatever you could find, you could park. What about special needs people that need assistance to, say, they're handicapped physically or some other way, accessibility-wise? There is no condition, there's no provision by anyone except to have somebody park at the curb. I don't think there's any parking in front of the store.
We have street parking that's available to us immediately adjacent to the property in front of the
There
property.
is. I drove by that day, I must have passed the meter markers before. That was my only concern, is if someone needed to get physically into this facility to get service, and someone else is bringing them to the facility, is there an ability to drop them off and pick them up again?
They would have to access the facility from the front public right-of-way on the sidewalk there, and then we would make accommodations basically from our property in by providing that new accessible entrance and kind of reworking that within our space, the entry space, okay, to make those accommodations so that everyone in the community feels welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few things, Mr. Chairman, because I think this is a new concept. I have never heard of a pharmacy in this fashion before. It certainly looks like you would serve a need, especially in an urban area. It appears to be a relatively low-impact type of use, but and again, the building has been vacant for some time, so it'd be nice to see it occupied. My question is if you could give just a little bit of detail to the physical, and I don't know if this falls under historic, it's in the historic district, says here.
Yes.
You communicating with Steve Stoll at all, or Christine, do you know, is this going to the historic board at all?
I believe the exterior alterations that they're proposing that need historic board approval are just the signs, and I know they've been working with Steve on that for some time.
Okay, so there's no change to the facade of the building other than the signage, is that?
I think just cleaning it up, but
Correct, yeah, we're proposing to clean it up. When I physically walked the site to do our initial due diligence survey, I noted some areas in the storefront windows, the existing storefront windows, where there was some indications of some possible water infiltration. So we are proposing to clean that up and to repair it. In-kind replacement, though, we aren't proposing to make any changes. Just in-kind replacement, just to kind of bring it back up to a watertight, safe condition.
And then anything that would be done would require approval from the historic board proper or Steve Stoll?
it depends on the scope of the work, but if they were to alter the exterior significantly, then it would need to go to the board
Historic board,
as a whole.
Okay.
And our
But
office
definitely
will
for
be
the sign use though, right?
The signs, I believe Steve does in office.
The downtown area, yeah.
And we'll be sure to propose anything that we're going to do on the exterior with Steve, just to run it by him, just to be sure that it's in compliance with what he can review, or if we need to do anything additional. But again, we don't anticipate that, because we're doing an in-kind replacement.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's nice to see that, putting something into that place. I read the letter, that it's been vacant for 4 years, trying to get other people in there. And then it seemed like it was gonna work, then it didn't work, it fell apart for the landowner. So it's nice to see that, something getting filled in there, and obviously having the outside of the facade, brought up, make it look new again, make it look nice and pleasing, so.
We're certainly excited about the prospect.
I'm sorry?
We're certainly excited about the prospect of.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's a good project, and I have no problems with it myself at all, so. Any more further questions from the board? So all we need is, so this falls into our new category of the new special permit that came out as a result of a change that happened to our bylaws by the city council, I believe, last December. So it's just a special permit that you're requesting. I'll make a motion that we approve the special permit as requested.
Second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Special permit is allowed in, 4 votes in favor and none against. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Chairman, I appreciate your time. Thank you,
You're
gentlemen.
welcome. Okay, moving along in the agenda, next matter is a site plan review and special permit for 234 Appleton Street. The application was submitted by Steve Gary, Esquire. Site plan review and special permit approval on the above address. The applicant proposes to convert a mixed-use building with 9 residential units to 15 residential units. The proposed project is located in the urban mixed-use zoning district. The project requires site plan review approval under section 11.4, a special permit under Article 12, Table of Uses, and a special permit for parking reduction under 6.1.6, parentheses 6, from the planning board, and any relief required by the Lowell zoning ordinance. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Chairman Lenahan, members of the board. For the record, again, my name is Stephen Geary. I represent 234 Appleton Street LLC. Just to introduce the folks that are with me here tonight is the project manager and the engineer, Tony Capichetti, the architect, Steve Peppers, and Bill Mandel, who's the principal, and my brother John, who's my law partner in this project. So, as you outlined, Mr. Chairman, this is a parcel located at 234 Appleton Street. It is a parcel that was on the city's acquisition list for a while to be acquired because of its dilapidated state. Mr. Mandel came in from out of town and purchased this property for about $620,000, I believe, and he has a planned budget of about $800,000 to completely rebuild this project. This project is pretty much right now an eyesore. If you remember it, it is a partial residential, and the lower part is commercial. It was an upholstery business for many, many years, for decades in the city. And there's 2 parking spots down below. Just procedurally, we came initially, many, many months ago, I met with the Department of Planning and Development and several different department heads that might be interested in this project. And I got a significant amount of feedback from Ms. McCall and different members of her office. And the feedback was incorporated into our plans as we went along, before we applied for pre-application. Then we came many months ago as well here for pre-application, and we got some really good input from this board, and we went back to the drawing board, and we incorporated that input into the project with some good suggestions. One of them was remove the spiral staircase, we reduced the number of units, and we made it, aesthetically how we thought it would fit in with this, with the city. As you can see from the picture that's over there, the plan is to, right now, the commercial part's on the bottom, and it goes way back with just a flat roof, and then the residential building starts in the back of both buildings. The proposed plan is to raise the facade up on both sides to be able to house the 15 units that's proposed, and on the front would be that hardy board that you see when you go into different cities and towns that have high-end construction. Mr. Mandel has done over 200 of these projects in major cities throughout Massachusetts, and he finds that type of building material in the front facade, although it's more expensive, it works best, it's aesthetically pleasing, and it really increases the value of the property as well, enhances the neighborhood. So you might recognize some of these properties if you go through Medford and Cambridge and Boston and just outside the main part of the city. You see a lot of that. You see a lot of buildings that are just like this. So what's important about this building is it's located in the Jambra area, and it's part of the JAM plan, and the mission of the JAM plan was to create residential units. So this falls right in line with all the criteria required for the special permits that we're requesting tonight. At the last meeting that we came to here, the pre-application, the suggestion was to try to create some parking on the lot. So instead of units down below, we removed those units and we put in the parking below. So there's already existing curb cuts there. So there's going to be 4 parking spots below. And we're looking for relief from this board because the property is within 1,500 feet of the Edward Early Garage, which was constructed for the very purpose of being able to facilitate residential development in that area when it was planned so long ago. This project, in my opinion, from being a business owner right down the street from there, this is a great opportunity for the city. We have somebody coming in with their own money when the city was going to acquire this property and is going to completely rebuild that entire parcel there. The footprint is not changing. He's going to completely rebuild that and create housing that's much needed in the city, and it's going to be market rate housing, and it's going to be catered towards those folks who want to live in an urban environment. These are not people who are going to have 3 or 4 cars or anything like that. These are folks that know it's in the middle of the city, they know it's on a bus line, they know they're near the Gallagher terminal, they're right around every possible thing that they could use without a car. Some of them might work in that area. He has a mix of proposed units. Most of them are the 1-bedroom units, which are 10. The proposal is for 4 2-bedrooms and 1 4-bedroom, just because you do need a variety of mixed for market reasons. So as part of the project, we got feedback from the city's engineer, and if you can see by what what Christine handed you, the existing conditions are on the first page and the proposed conditions are on the second. We've incorporated virtually every suggestion that the engineer made, the city engineer made, to that, including anything that he does on Gowan Street, he's going to put that back, smooth that out if there's any kind of cut in the roadway, which he anticipates that there will be. I'll have the engineer in a minute speak to you about the details of that plan, and the architect about the details of what the building's gonna look like and how it fits into that neighborhood. But it's important to note that this project is gonna be the beginning of what we hope is gonna be a lot of development in that area. The courthouse is now halfway built, and it's a magnificent building, and everything around that area is gonna start to blossom. And this is one of the first things where investor is putting serious money into a building around there. Mr. Mandel is interested in other properties in the city. He thinks that the city's a great place to work, and we hope that that's the case. So the details are in my narrative as to everything else. If there's any specific questions, would be happy to answer that, but it meets all the criteria for the special permits. We are within the 1,500 feet of the public parking, and if you go by that area, as I do many times a day, you'll see that there's really not a parking crunch, except for very small periods of time during the day. On the weekends, there's never a parking issue there. At nighttime, there's never a parking issue there. And a lot of times during the day, except when the diner creates a lot of business in the very early morning hours, there's not a lot of parking issues there. So it's the perfect project to start a really good thing in the city, and we hope that, that you would entertain the special permit and the site plan review. Now, we have the site plan up here as well, so I'm going to have the engineer address you right now regarding the details of that, and I'll be happy to answer any other questions you might have. And this is Tony Capichetti.
Excuse me. Thank you. Tony Capichetti, Hayes Engineering, 603 Salem Street, Wakefield, Massachusetts. The site as it stands, there won't be a lot of site work associated with this project. It's an adaptive reuse. They're taking the commercial and residential mix, changing it all to a residential facility. They're going up, as Attorney Gary said, over the existing garages. So as far as site work, the only change to the site was suggested by the wastewater utility. They asked that any roof runoff be collected, and instead of sheet flowing across the sidewalk and out to the street, that we find a way to manage it. We proposed putting roof drains and tying into the combined sewer, which is what was requested. And then, as of yesterday, we had another meeting with Mike Stewart over at wastewater. He asked, we had originally a manhole in the sidewalk. He asked us if we could convert it to a catch basin, because it's about a 300-foot run between catch basins here. So to help the city out, we had no problem moving the drain manhole, and that's on the new plan that we provided today. Again, this was just worked out yesterday. Providing a catch basin in the gutter line, where typically around the building, you'd use a 6 or an 8-inch pipe to collect the rooftop runoff and just discharge it directly. What was asked was that we find some way to provide flow attenuation. Gowan Place is a pretty narrow street. There's gas and water utilities there. The tank that was suggested could not be used. So what we did was we proposed a 12-inch HDPE pipe that'll run around the perimeter of the building. And then to throttle the flow down before it connects to the catch basin, we're proposing a cap with a 2-inch orifice. That provides a little more than 2,300 gallons of storage on site, and it takes the existing runoff leaving the site and cuts it down by half in about all the storms through the 25-year storm. There'll be overflows and splash blocks at the downspouts, which is shown on the detail in the middle right-hand side of the plan. And you're talking storm events in excess of 5.4 inches in a 24-hour period. Mike Stewart seemed to be satisfied with that change, and he said he was going to work on getting a memo over to the planning board stating the same. We received a review from the city engineer, and his comments were easily attainable, and what we did was we added his proposed conditions should the board be moved to grant the special permit and site plan review. We added them to the plan. They were essentially resurfacing the area of Gowan Place that we're disturbing, constructing the sidewalks to the City of Lowell standards, and obtaining all permits prior to construction, which we would do anyways, and providing an as-built of any work within the city right-of-way. So we did put those on the plan to show that we are committed to working with the city. If you have any questions on the technical aspect of the site, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, I can turn it over to the architect to discuss the building design.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me.
Hi, my name is Stephen Pettipass of Aesthetic Images, 7 Stimson Street, Boston, Mass. The existing building is in, to be kind, dilapidated condition. There is nothing that can be reused other than the frame of the building. The one-bedrooms that we propose are actually the existing one-beds that are there on the property. What we're doing on the right-hand building is we are actually practically rebuilding that whole building and putting in the residential units. Even though there's only 15 units, by law, we only need 1 handicapped accessible unit. However, because this is 2 separate properties, we put 2 handicapped units. The handicapped units are in the right-hand building, 2nd level from the street, and we're proposing to use a chairlift up the existing middle stairway to that right side building. So that's how we're fitting that in. The existing height of the building is pretty close to what we're proposing. The existing building is an A-frame, but it's set back 10, 15 feet from the street. And what our proposal proposes is that we're going to maintain that existing height, simply build out or put new buildings in front of the old buildings to do 2 things. Number 1, to provide additional units, but also to provide a better look or image to the street, to make the streetscape more compatible with what is in the area. One of the things that struck me initially when I started this process was the sort of historic nature that this area kind of has that feel to. And I noticed that a lot of the new construction in the area were sort of hearkening back to a sort of a historic type of look. And so what we did was, because in the past I've been accused of being a little too on the historic side, so what we decided to do was to use basically traditional historic design methodology, but to do it, to wrap the building in a more modern type of material. So there's a lot of symmetry that's happening. There's layering of the building, which you see in a lot of historic buildings, but we're using modern materials. The existing first level, there already are 3 curb cuts there, and there's already car park for 2 on the right-hand building, and on the left-hand building is where the auto upholstery store was. So we're only proposing 1 additional curb cut to satisfy the needs of providing 4 parking on site. Is there any, I don't know, can't think of anything else that would be of relevance to you. Thank you.
Yeah, because the existing now, you have the 2 garages to the right, 1 garage to the left, and then a regular door to the left, right?
Yes, that's what currently exists. Yes.
So where the other door will be now the garage door?
That's exactly right. Where the storefront is where the garage was. Originally, we had...
That's where you had all your signs posted for tonight's meeting.
I'll say that again?
That's where all the signs were posted for tonight's meeting to satisfy our requirement that you post the signs.
Originally, we had residential units on that street level, but the request was that we provide some on-site parking, so we took that away.
It's a little unique when you first see it, I'm sure, and you start walking up the stairs in between, right?
Yeah, it's actually a very unique...
Where you going?
Yeah, it's a very unique property. It really is. It's almost special, almost. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I'd just like to add, Mr. Chairman, that, and I forgot to say this, but we did meet on February 14th with the JAMBRA at their monthly meeting, and Joe Janowitz from the city was there, there was a police officer there was a representative from the charter school and some neighbors, and the president of the JAMBRA, and we gave this sort of presentation as we are tonight, and I can tell you that they were all very favorable to this project, and one neighbor summed it up perfectly when we had the picture there. He said, is the question, we said, would you support us? And they said they would. And he said to us, is the question, do we want that, or do we want what's there now? And that was kind of, brought it home. But that's, it's a significant investment for my client, and we've incorporated everything that has been asked of us to do that and a lot of significant expense. So he's encouraged that this is going to work, and it's going to start, like I said, the process of other buildings doing the same thing and rejuvenate that whole area just in time, hopefully, for the opening of that courthouse. So we'd appreciate any approvals we can get tonight. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Council. Okay. Anybody else on behalf of the applicant? If not, I'll open it up further to the public. Okay. Anybody here this evening want to speak in favor of this project? Anybody in favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. Anybody in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none. Before we turn over the board members, does Christine, the staff have any further comments? I know we received quite a bit from Patrick already, and as well as Nick from the city engineer, everybody else, but I don't know if there's anything additional by staff? No? Okay, thank you. So at this time, I'll turn it over to any board members have any questions? Sure, Mr. Snetsky?
I just have a couple quick questions on the comments from the Gunther Wallenstein regarding the proposed trash.
Yes, I'm sorry. So that was addressed too. So the on-site, he's going to have the 15 trash containers and put them in the spot that the trash director had suggested. It's on the plan. 15 trash containers, 15 recycling, private trash removal. He's going to have his own guys come up, take that, empty it, and bring it back. And that's all on the plan. It's right in that corner there. So it's not going to be the city of Lowell, so there's no burden on the city, even though he's paying taxes. He's going to also pay for private trash and recycling. And that's the same as snow removal. He has a project manager there, and somebody's going to do all the snow removal that's necessary on the site. It's a tight area, but as far as the trash goes, Mr. Sesky, that's all trash and recycling exactly where it was proposed.
Perfect. Just as a matter of curiosity, who is responsible at this point for the snow removal on Gowan Place?
I don't know. Gowan Place is a private way, and it's owned, my client has, I think, the minority interest on that street. There's another building to the left of it and one in the back, and I'm not sure what they do for plowing. Do you know, Bill?
I don't know, because we don't.
Just introduce yourself.
I walked up there today and I was trying to figure it out, you know.
I'm not sure who does it.
State your name. Thank you.
Bill Mandel. The other properties actually, drive up there, so I must figure out, I have no reason to drive up there, or the tenants don't either, so I'm not sure. I thought the city did it, but I guess not.
Yeah.
Again, Tony Capuchetti. In a prior lifetime, I worked for the water department, and one of my jobs was, we called it herding private plow contractors, and the city did maintain Gowan Place. That was my area to watch the private contractors, and they did plow the street, even though it was a private way. Residents would call, and it would be maintained by the city, so this would be one that they could cross off their list.
But that really has no bearing on your project, because you're not, other than shoveling a sidewalk or something, you don't use that for access to your property.
Correct. I mean, we're not parking on Gowan Way. You'd use it to access for the trash. The private trash truck would go down there. I guess a vehicle could stop momentarily there, but there's no parking on Gowan Place, so.
That pretty much answers my questions. I think, it's encouraging to see a developer, starting to refurbish this area. It's, with some of the other things happening in that area. This is a gateway to the city. There's a lot of good things happening there, and I think this would be a plus to the area. So
It's exciting
I have no further
time.
questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Malovich?
I concur. I think this is a great potential in this project. The only concern I have is for parking spaces for, we shot 11 under this district. Have you talked to the parking garage people?
We did, and so when we spoke to them initially, and it was all, so with the special permit, it can be reduced by 50% if it meets the criteria, and we do meet the criteria. So to make up for that 50%, those 11 spots that we needed, now 12, the parking director had agreed to lease us the spots in the early garage because they were there. But I think something on another project came up, and the city council asked the city, my understanding is the city council asked the city manager to, stop that practice. So it was just abruptly stopped. So now where it was they told us they could do it, then now they couldn't do it. But the parking is not, because the spots are still there in the early garage, that's why it was built. My client looked at this every way he can, and he does not see a parking issue there at all with this. It doesn't, it's just not, it's an urban development, and where he normally develops to, there's never any parking. In this project, there is parking. There's parking on the street, and there's meter parking, there's another meter parking across from juvenile court, and these early garages right there, and we all know the other garages that are being built now, so he doesn't anticipate parking being an issue at all. And I think at a preliminary hearing, I don't know who said it, but I thought one of the members mentioned that they agreed that in that area, they didn't think parking was a primary concern.
No, I don't think it is either. I was just wondering whether he had conversed with the parking.
We did. We actually had we didn't sign anything, but we had an agreement that we would sign it, and they just stopped that practice. They may start it again. To me, the practice makes perfect sense, but for whatever reason, it got suspended.
Also, based on what I'm reading in the newspaper, it's a good idea if he takes a look at Mayflower apartment building and
Yeah.
see if that's an interest.
He knows about
to
it.
you.
He knows about it.
That's an architectural gem if
It
it's
really
cleaned
is,
up.
yeah. And the other thing, too, if you read the recent article in the Lowell Sun, there was an article about all the trash right in that area. And, so that happened to be going on right when we had our meeting with Jambra. So, walking over there, we saw all the trash. We saw what they were talking about, more towards Elliott's and that area and a couple of places. And you know why the trash is there. You can see why it's there. But in my client's situation, these barrels aren't going to be left out. People aren't going to be knocking them over. You're not going to have to wait for the tenants to bring. It's going to be taken care of by a private trash and recycling company. So that's another benefit to the city.
Great benefit.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would agree with the comments from my colleagues, and just to comment as well, I do appreciate the applicant incorporating suggestions that came out of the pre-application hearing. Many times applicants come before us, and I think they lose sight of why they're coming for the pre-application hearing, trying to get some, at least some feedback versus just presenting the project. Just for clarification, though, and more, I don't know, probably with the engineer, with discussions with Nick or Christine, I just want to make sure for clarification purposes, the applicant shall repave Gowan Place. Is that strictly pertaining to any disruption that you make, or was the intent to repave that entire?
We only own a portion of Gowan Place. We don't have the right to access and change on the other side of the property line. Gowan Place is to be 10 feet wide on our property, and that easement is deeded to everyone to pass and repass. What we're proposing is we have our trench and the gas trench, so we'll pave that whole strip to the property line. Again, we don't have any right to access anyone else's property to repave it. So that would be resurfaced. We'd put our trench in. There's the existing gas trench. That would be then overlaid with 1.5 inches of finished pavement.
Christine, is that what you understand Nick was referring to? I just want to make sure, because it's.
I think he intentionally did want them to repave all of Gowan Place, but then I had a clarifying conversation with him this afternoon, and he said that just as long as they maintained their section of Gowan Place, he was fine with that.
Okay, all right, because same question would have had, it's just not very clear in what the intent is there. So, okay. And, again, we did have a fairly lengthy discussion at the pre-application hearing regarding the parking in the area, and it is not although it's a fairly large project, relative terms, and certainly it comes with, I applaud the owner for investing that kind of money into the property, but it really isn't a large impact property, and it meets all the threshold criteria for reducing the parking requirement. Matter of fact, this board certainly could have requested an analysis, a parking analysis along the roadway there, but, just again, visual observation I think from everybody, determined that it really is not necessary in this particular case. Little curious as to how you're going to establish who gets the 4 spots inside the property.
Who's going to get the spots?
I haven't determined that yet. I don't know what makes the most sense at this point. You know, if one spot or 2 spots for the 4-bedroom, we'll break it up between the 2 bedrooms. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet and determine what makes the most sense.
Sure, no, I suspect, I think you're going to have a limited demand for automobiles, but the people that do have automobiles will probably would love to get those spots, I would suspect.
2 of the spots are designed for handicapped accessibility. If, for whatever reason, handicapped people don't use it, then they can be used. But as far as I was concerned, in the way in which I designed it, the 2 spots on the left-hand side are designed for accessible for handicapped. They're wide enough and big enough to be able to get in and out. That's what was the intent.
Okay. Oh, nice, okay. And again, you're within a reasonable distance to public transportation. We talked about, again, the Jamber area. Been a lot of investment in the area, right on South Street, right around the corner there. You can see the new building going up. And so I think this will be really a welcome addition to that area as well. So, and I think there was more housekeeping comments and conditions, Mr. Chairman, that I think would just be incorporated into the approval, but thank you.
Thank you. So besides our request, you have this, you need to go before the zoning board of appeals?
Yes,
for a
so I was
couple
just going to
requests?
address that. We go before the ZBA Monday night for the parking variance, the land lot area per dwelling unit, and the side yard and rear yard setback. But the side yard, rear yard setback, it's the same footprint, so there's nothing that can be done about that.
I noticed when looking to the right of the building, to the house next, that's pretty close. What's that, less than 3 feet, is that what it is, or?
Is it 3 feet?
I'm looking at what you're saying here, I think it's like,
It's actually less than that, it's 2.3 feet.
yeah, okay. Yeah, 'cause I looked at that, and I said, but I know it's existing, and there was like, there was, I think, an existing metal fire escape coming down the side, was that?
Yeah, there's like,
Yeah.
you show it, right?
There's
Yeah.
a fire escape here, excuse my coloring, I
That's okay.
went with the green, but there's a fire escape located here at the 2nd story, and there's a fire escape located here at the 2nd story.
So you'd still keep those on there? I mean,
Well, obviously, it's going to be rebuilt, it's going to be sprinkled.
Yeah.
So it has to be sprinklers all throughout, so.
because of the number of units, has to be
Right,
sprinkled.
right.
Plus, for safety-wise, you're better off.
Yeah, and he'll comply with all the requirements for the fire department and everything. And so Monday night is our meeting with the ZBA.
And like I say, most of those requests are because you're building on the exact same footprint.
The same
lot.
footprint, yeah, and obviously, we have to
Not
go,
exceeding it.
we have to go for them for the parking variance.
Right.
So first to you for the reduction, and then to them for the variance of that amount.
And if you don't get through us, then you don't end up going before them.
Right, right. So I should say, I think we're going Monday night. I
You're
hope we're
scheduled.
going Monday night.
Yes, we say, yeah, we're scheduled. Yeah, okay. Thank you, I think that answers my question. So from us, I believe tonight, as by reading the notices, you need the site plan, you're requesting the site plan approval and 2 special permits, correct, counsel?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd say, ask one more
Sure,
question. to the
absolutely.
applicant. Just so I understand, with the city engineer or with the water department, you're still working to finalize your stormwater plan, or is that?
Based off my conversation with Mike Stewart yesterday, he was all set with the revision, provided we put the catch basin in, which we did.
Okay, with the plan we received this evening?
That's correct.
Okay.
And he said he was going to try today to get a memo out, but
We just received the plans tonight. I don't know if you got a copy of it, so I'd feel more comfortable if we kept it
Okay.
in as a condition.
So we would just include that in there, okay, yeah.
So if we approve that as a conditional approval?
That's acceptable, yes.
That's acceptable, counsel? Okay. I mean, it's just a matter of following up to make sure that
Yeah,
communication.
no, it's already
is
in
done.
there, they've,
Yep,
Yep.
okay. All right. Any further questions from board members for follow-up? No? Okay. So what's the request of the board? Why don't we start first with the site plan, then go to the special permits, if we don't mind?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the site plan with the following conditions, that the applicant receive final approval from the city's wastewater department regarding the stormwater management plan on the site. The applicant shall also develop a plan that meets standards of the Lowell fire prevention. The Gowan Place shall remain a private way, and maintenance responsibility will lie with the abutters. Applicant should rebuild sidewalks, driveways along frontage of property on Appleton Street to city standards. The applicant should repave their portion of Gowan Place. And more as housekeeping, all driveway, street opening, and trench permits must be applied for prior to construction. As-built stamped plans of improvements within the right-of-way shall be filed with the city engineer's office.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Malovich. All in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none, that special permit is approved. 4 votes for, none against. The next matter, we have 2 special permits. The first one is a special permit under Article 12.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the special permit incorporating the conditions that were placed on the applicant in the site plan review.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded by Mr. Snetsky. All in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes yes as well. Any opposition? Hearing none. That special permit carries 4 in favor, none against. And the last special permit would be for the parking reduction. I'll make a motion to approve that special permit.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Mr. Vichette. All in favor, say aye.
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 With the same conditions, I should add, I'm sorry. Yeah, so the special permit with for the parking for the same conditions as outlined in the site plan and the previous special permit. So we have a motion made and second. All in favor, said aye.
Yep. Aye.
And all in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. All in favor, say aye. The motion carries 4 for, none against. Good luck. We wish you
Great.
well, and good luck at the zoning board.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good luck. Hopefully, party turns out nice. Thank you. You look nice. I said, you can tell that little side street was there till you go look at it. I didn't even know it was there. The side street. You couldn't even tell. It's like Christine setting something up for us. We getting a presentation? All right, okay. Okay, moving along on the agenda, the next matter is a pre-application for a site plan and special permit for 355, 357 Pawtucket Street. The applicant is proposing to convert the former Franco-American School into a multifamily residential and office use. This is not a public hearing, and the planning board will not be voting on the matter this evening. This is for informational purposes only. Can we hear from the applicant, please?
Yes, thank you. Attorney James Harrington for the applicant, Franco-American Holdings LLC, and I have with me tonight Brian McGowan, who is the principal owner for the project. Barry Gannick is the architect. Dave Jordan is our engineer. We also have Attorney Panagiatakis, who is consulting on the project with us. And Craig Thomas from the Coalition for the Better Acre is here as well, that he may speak if there's any questions on part of the project involving a park in the rear of the property.
Welcome all.
I'm going to give you just a quick overview, just explain what the scope of the project that we envision are, and then I'll let the engineers and the architect speak as well, a little further detail. Right now, we're looking to convert the existing school building and the mansion into 53 residential units. We have, as far as with the mansion, we have that for office use. I know one of the questions is probably going to be, what exactly do you plan to do in the mansion? And I think right now it's preserve it as much as possible. As we're coming in for the special permit, we figure we're going to get that approval now and hope, anticipation that perhaps it becomes professional office use, and if it's another use, we'll be back in front of the board down the road. The units are going to be primarily two-bedroom units, 41 two-bedroom units, 7 one-bedroom, 1 three-bedroom, and 4 studio apartments as well. Most of the work is going to be within the existing building. Everything's going to be within the existing footprint. There'll be some additions proposed, which are infill additions, which Mr. Gannick will speak to a little more detail, and also adding 5 units onto the rooftop. The reason why he's looking to add units onto the rooftop is not necessarily to gain more units. As Mr. McGowan has explained, that he's been on top of that roof and really needs to do something up there. The view is incredible when you look out there, so it's more just to enhance the project. 5 units isn't going to make or break the project financially. It may cost more just to do it. So we've already submitted plans that have been reviewed. Ms. McCall's been helpful with submitting the plans around to various departments. There's been several comments and recommendations that have come back that have been incorporated in the plans that have been submitted prior to tonight's hearing, and I think we have some additional comments that will be incorporated into our formal application. In addition to the work within the building, the grotto and the stations, the cross, are also going to be preserved and maintained. There's going to be a park incorporated. I don't think it's shown on the plans that you might have in front of you. It has been added on to the new plans, but there will be some extensive work done there to preserve and maintain that into perpetuity. So with that, I'll take any general questions, but I think I'm going to open it to any questions on the work in the building to Mr. Gannick, and then David Jordan will answer any questions on the site itself.
Thank you.
Good evening, Barry Gannick, Gannick Architects. Our intent with this project is to build out the interior. We're not adding to the footprint of the building at all. Right now, our focus is on the former school building, not on the mansion itself. We are preserving the exterior of the facade all the way around. The infills are in 2 locations. One, there's a 1-story element that's in one of the jogs that exists within the building. We're going to build up on top of that just to fill out the floor plates at each level. On the both of these are on the School Street side, and there is an existing porch that is 2 stories in the air and has posts coming down to grade. We are going to infill that post area, so it's like weatherizing a porch at this point. So again, the footprint of the building does not change. There are some arched windows on the center wing on the School Street side. They will remain. There will be new floor plates put in, built behind them, but the appearance from the exterior of these tall arched windows will remain as they are today. The rooftop units are 5 units added. They are stepped back 10 feet all the way around so as not to change the sight lines from the street level of the building. We will enhance the existing brickwork and concrete trim pieces, all to keep the appearance of the building pretty much exactly as it exists right now. Okay?
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is David Jordan. I'm an engineer and land surveyor with MHF Design Consultants in Salem, New Hampshire, and the site civil engineer for the project. So So the plan that's in front of you is part of the conversion of the school to residential units. We are going to be constructing a new parking lot, primarily on the east side of the school building. Right now, there's a number of driveways and paved areas that circle the building. The area facing Pawtucket Street, that'll be largely unchanged. We're going to leave the driveways that are there, we're going to leave the trees that are there, and really maintain the streetscape that's there currently. In front of the building itself, again, we have a couple parking fields that will have new landscaped islands, providing accessible parking spaces in that location. On the north side of the school building and the side between the school building and School Street itself, most of that right now is paved right up to the building. It's paved to the property line. We'll actually be removing quite a bit of that pavement, putting in landscaping around the perimeter of the parking lot, adding landscaping within the interior of the parking lot in accordance with the zoning ordinance. Overall, I think in terms of impervious area, we're probably going to be about where we are now in terms of we are adding pavement in some areas but taking pavement away in other areas. So we're probably pretty close on a balance there. I know one of the comments from the wastewater utility had to do with the stormwater design for this site. And we're certainly as part of the final engineering design for this project, we'll be designing a complete stormwater collection system in accordance with the Mass Stormwater Standards. We envision taking advantage of what we believe are good soil conditions out here to get probably an underground stormwater detention infiltration system. So we'll be managing and controlling the stormwater is part of the final design. Again, we just received today some comments from DPD, comments from the wastewater utility, as I just mentioned, building department regarding the accessible parking spaces. We'll work with, we're obviously working in conjunction with the architect to make sure that we are in full compliance with the Architectural Access Board standards. Fire department just commented on fire truck circulation. We'll provide exhibits to them to demonstrate that we meet their requirements. Solid waste and recycling commented on trash and recycling. We've actually addressed that with a plan that's up on the board tonight. We hadn't provided that initially. So we'll get back with them and just make sure that what we're proposing meets their recommendations. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I don't know if there's other, if you're turning it over to CBA.
Also have the executive director for the CBA, Young Jew, here with us tonight as well. And do you want to? I think Greg, you probably want to say a couple things about the park that we have planned as well. So. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Craig Thomas for the Coalition for a Better Acre. We do have our Executive Director, Yunju Cho, here with us tonight, as well as Thomas Emery, a Real Estate Project Associate. We wanted to bring this in because it's something that's happening at the same time, and it's a really exciting part of the next phase of the Franco-American site, which is in the rear along the canal, a new green space, open space, and passive park that will preserve and enhance the grotto as well as the Stations on the Cross. We've been working with members of the Franco board who stayed on to participate and ensure the continued success and preservation of the grotto and the stations. And this is, as you see here, at the very back of the parking lot for the private redevelopment for TMI. Again, they're two separate projects, but they're happening on the same site at the same time, and the outcome of which will be two really beautiful
coexisting and supportive projects, this being really great open space for the neighborhood and also for the site, as well as the enhanced and reused school building. So I wanted to put this in front of you because this is, again, going to happen on the same timeline, hopefully, with the school building rehab. It's just something we're all really excited about, to open up this space along the canal and to really make this an amenity for the neighbors in the neighborhood.
In the way back where the big cross is, in the rear of the project, by the canal?
Yep.
When you go down by the stations of the cross, you come to the end, there's the big thing and the big cross up top. Is that all staying there, or is that?
So I used a little bit of shorthand there, so I have to put that back up.
Because it's hard to, so if you come down this, so if you don't come in School Street, but you come in, what's the other street there?
Fanning Street.
So you can come down there, but all the stations across it to your right, then you come down to the back. Because I get out there on Tuesday, I walked around, and the crew was up there working, right? Yeah, that's where the big station is, the cross is, and all the stuff. So all that's remaining there?
Yeah, and Mr. McGowan's pointing to where the location of the cross is now. That will stay where it is.
Is that part of your project then, or is that part of theirs? Or
so this is both parts. This is, again, part of the collaborative element of the site. The green space in the back, well, right now in the back, it's sort of overused and kind of odd to walk down. As you walk down there, trying to understand what's happening back there.
I walked the whole site on Tuesday. I saw those guys working up there, and I was all around the back, and I was right to the canal, and over to the side, went by all the stations across, yeah.
Yeah, and in brainstorming about what could happen on the site and conversations between CVA and TMI, we both recognize the potential for the rear section, again, being a truly signature part of this site, but even the rest of the canal district. The national park has the upper canal walkway that ends in this area, as well as across from the gatehouse.
Right.
So we went out and applied for a grant to help with this infrastructure improvement. Again, it has the added benefit of having this residential project next door. We can use it as open space and keep eyes on it, but again, have an area that'll be accessible as well, to relocate the stations of the cross from their current location to be preserved and protected here, again, and to be fully available to the public at all times as it is now, to continue for visitation.
So on the main project where the school is now, it is that whole building, I know it's one big huge building. Then you talked about the mansion building. Is that attached to that, or that's the one over?
Yes.
Or that's the one in the front? Which one is considered the mansion building?
The front to the right.
The front.
Okay, so the very front by Pawtucket Street. Okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
and it's all attached, just one building.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's where the truck was parked there. So when I parked over on the side by the School Street, I got out, walked around, walked by the truck, and walked down by the side by the station to the cross. Then I drove by Fanning and parked on the way back. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, when I first saw this, I wasn't surprised. I knew that the place had closed a few years back, and it's been sitting there for a few years. So I said, sooner or later, something's coming in.
Right.
And I knew there was a lot of land there, but you never really notice it. You take it out and really walk the whole site and see how nice it is down. You see the canal before you actually see the river, and you get to really get it. And it was a beautiful day when you guys were working up there, so it was nice to actually get out and look around. There was no snow in the way or anything else. I could drive through the whole site, walk through the whole site, and get a real good look. And, usually in February, you don't get to see as much. But you guys were pretty busy when I was there the other day. Yeah. It looks like interesting. It looks like it's, what's the whole total square footage for the school? I know it's big.
The building.
Jim, yeah, it's
total.
70,000 square feet total, approximately 20,000 square feet for the mansion, 50,000 square feet for the school. So the 20,000 in the Ayers mansion, we're just preserving the building, and then the 50,000 square feet in the school building, we're converting to the 53 units.
Okay. I got you. So you're keeping the front. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your parking plan is going to change just a little bit from what's existing now?
So where you see the swing set that's existing there now that, people are parked in, would be converting that to the main parking area, which.
So that was over to the right, that was kind of fenced in? You had a lot of parking over there, and you had a bunch of utility cars in the back, in front of the, Yeah, but some of them kind of, when we get them these size, it's a little harder for me to read those. The bigger ones that we request, but the smaller ones I printed out were a little harder to read.
Currently now there's a swing set and,
Yeah.
so we're converting that into the main parking.
Oh, okay,
which
okay.
The majority of it
Yeah.
is paid at this point. So that'd be the main parking, this would be the residential component, and that'd be the mansion. So all we'll really do is,
Because a lot of this was like kind of fenced in, right? And you had some trucks here, and you had some trucks in the back. You had a bunch of trucks down here, you had this here, and this was like kind of fenced in, so I wasn't sure which was going where.
that's where the kids used to play. So all
Yeah.
that fenced-in area now, we're gonna turn into the parking.
Okay, I got you, okay. All right. So are you gonna meet the parking, or are you gonna need a reduction on parking, or?
We meet the parking.
Huh?
Yep.
Okay. Any of the board members have any further questions since I started off?
That was going to be my next question. How many parking spaces are you proposing?
I believe there's 136 on that plan.
Yeah, the current plan has 135 parking spaces. Using the shared parking requirements for a mixed-use site like this, the requirement is 120. We're providing 135.
Okay, thank, at this point, that was my only question.
Would you try to do most of your traffic flow coming in off Pawtucket Street instead of School Street, which can be kind of tough?
Probably Fanning Street as it exists now, so most,
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think when we met with the
That's what I meant to say,
DPD.
yeah, I mean.
Yeah, off of Pawtucket onto Fanning,
Yeah,
yes,
that's what I
sorry.
meant to say. Yeah, because when you come in, I came in the School Street side, and then obviously it's tough getting back out there, especially if you want to go left.
That's a good way to get out.
Yeah, if you want to go right. If you want to go right over the bridge, you're fine. You want to cut back the other way. So I was fortunate enough, I waited, and the light turned, I could go left and come back up School and onto Pawtucket, but usually you're not going to make that turn. No.
I think, and Dave, you could probably speak to it better than I, but I think
Sure.
the Fanning onto Pawtucket will probably be our main.
Yeah, that looks like you'd have much more accessibility going in that way.
Yeah, as far as the access on the School Street side, there's a few parking spaces over there. But the connection to the front of the school is one way towards the front of the school, so people parked in front of the school cannot drive around that way and slip out onto School Street. So we're purposely bringing everyone out Fanning and onto Pawtucket.
Yeah, I could see where you'd still, if you left that still open, but I mean, I'd just say, for the majority of that, it may much make more sense to try to get out Pawtucket Street. I mean, because that's a tough, like I say, especially if you want to go left onto School Street. I mean. Bob, any questions?
Yeah, what about fire truck access?
So we're gonna, one of the comments that we got back today, we're gonna address that, to make sure that they have the area they need to turn around and things
Yeah.
like that. But I think, Dave, I'm pretty sure we have it covered, what they're looking for.
That was my only concern. The other one was, was the trash located? And how are you dealing with trash and recycling?
it on your plan?
Yeah, I mean, the smaller plants are tougher. Yep. Okay.
Above that two-family, there's a clear area with a little building on Fanning Street. Is that someone else's property? It's all yours. So
Yeah.
that's all open
Just hit the
space.
microphone, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so it's about 4.5 acres of total space. We're not doing anything along Fanning or at the two-family at this point. It's mostly just the area where you see the parking start.
Gotcha.
It would be a beautiful site for the residents there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Unbelievable.
It's a beautiful site in general. I mean, if you haven't walked it, please do. I'd like to show you inside the mansion.
Sure.
Anybody needs an office?
You know who lived in that mansion?
I do, yep.
Who?
Frederick Ayer.
Animal Patton.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, I don't know if he really lived there, but his
Sounds
wife
good.
did.
His wife.
Wow.
She was an heir.
Yeah. And the brother, Frederick Ayer's brother, lived in the, Steve, do you remember the name of that? What is Arshans? Barshans Hall, right by University Crossing now, yeah, that's
Yeah,
beautiful buildings. No, we're excited. It's a great piece of property.
So how excited were you when you got on the roof?
Oh, I welcome you up. You'll see why I'm excited. Like Jimmy had mentioned, you know, building 5 units up there, the
You look the
expense
whole
of
way
it.
up and down the river?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, you're
Get up there in
looking.
the fall, huh?
Oh, it's beautiful up there.
And I like the idea by keeping it back a little bit so you don't notice the
Yep.
streetscape.
Yeah.
And somebody will probably come by and want to put a tower up there, right, for cell phone use?
We're not gonna let them.
That's what I was thinking, oh.
They won't have enough money.
Huh?
They won't have it. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful site.
Yeah. Well, good, we wish you well with it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not,
Sure.
we're not voting here this evening, but yeah, I'm never silent on a project, so just for, for public disclosure, I'll be abstaining on this matter when it does come before the board, so I just want to make that clear.
Do you have any questions that you want me to ask on your behalf?
I'll slip that to you.
Any of the board members have any further follow-ups? I mean, it's a,
No, I had the opportunity to go through that mansion. That was, if I recall, a couple of years ago, that was on the Open Doors Lowell tour.
oh, okay.
And what a spectacular building that is.
We plan to be on again this year, so wait till you see it now.
So how was the conditions inside when you were doing all the,
Of the mansion?
yeah,
So we've done a lot of work to the first floor of the mansion, you know, really preserved it. We're not gonna tell you, but you gotta come see it.
we'll be there.
It's,
didn't wanna bother
it's an
you
amazing
working in
building.
there.
Anybody that's been in there can attest to
Spectacular
it,
building.
yeah. And we're making it even better.
Good. We wish you well.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully
Appreciate it.
see you soon.
Thank you.
Good luck. Moving along on the agenda, do any of the board members have any further comments as a result of being on the other boards? Nothing from them, Todd? No?
No, Mr.
And
Chairman.
Dick's not here to fill us in on historic, so that's quiet. Okay. Planning staff have any further comments?
No, not this evening.
Good. All right. If not, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Do we have an idea of who's on next week beside the dormitory project?
I don't have my notebook off the top of my head. I believe it's 26 Market Street, which is the proposed office use for the paint union.
Yep.
I believe it's just those 2 items, the continued dorm and the
Probably take up
26
the whole
Market.
time. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, and I believe the agenda deadline has also passed for that meeting, so it would just be stuff from us.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay. We are adjourned. Good night, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Christine.
You guys adjourned?
Yes. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Good to see ya. You lost a good one by plenty this morning, huh? Yeah. That's a tough one, man.